Our dreams, our purpose, our calling. Pursuing what we feel we have been put on this planet to do is rarely an easy journey. It is one littered with twists and turns and potholes. For some people though, those turns are actually hairpin bends, and those potholes are the size of craters. When faced with such adversity, many people would decide to quit and take the path of least resistance. Croatian striker Dado Pršo faced more setbacks than most on his long, arduous road to the top. However, he did not buckle in the face of them, but he forged an unbreakable will to succeed. As Dado Pršo himself said, life isn't easy, but you build your character, your personality, and with the difficult times, you become stronger. Nothing in the world comes to you without you giving something in return. You always have to work for it. Born in Zadar, Croatia in 1974, Dado got into football from a young age and started training with local clubs Bagat and then Zadar. Even then, Dado felt sure he possessed the ability to go all the way. Not to be arrogant, but I knew I could do it. Right from the moment as a child when I first had a ball and played, I knew. The coaches at Hajduk Split clearly also believed he had something, as he was invited to join their academy at 12. He spent 4 years in the youth system before in 1991 he was faced with his first real challenge. Now, the Hollywood version of events, and the most commonly spouted, is that during a routine medical, club doctors found an irregular heartbeat, causing him to fail his checkup and get released by Split, who came to the conclusion that he couldn't be a professional footballer. But the strangest thing is that no evidence of said irregularity was ever found again. It's a nice story, but it does indeed seem to be just that. As reported in the Times in a 2005 interview with Dado, an irregular heartbeat was found, but he never failed a medical and he was never let go by the club because of it. In reality, he left of his own volition, frustrated at a lack of progress and opportunities at the club. In 1992, at the age of 17, he took a huge step down from the heights of Hajduk and signed for humble Pazinka, a club based in the small town of Pazin, population less than 10,000, where he was paid an absolute pittance. The Croatian First League had just been created out of the ashes of the Yugoslav League, and Pazinka and Pršo played in the inaugural season. Dado's mission was to show the big boys what they were missing and win himself a move. A meagre return of 2 goals in 26 league matches was not enough to spark any interest, and so Pršo decided to pack his bags and move to France, where he had secured a trial with French second division side Rouen. Lack of recognition was not the only reason for Dado to leave his homeland. The Croatian War of Independence had been raging for several years at that point, and Pršo later described the frightening experiences. I was a 17-year-old boy playing in the first division, while war went on around us. Sometimes we would go to stay in a hotel the night before a game, and there would be no roof because of the bombs. That was football in Croatia at the time, and when I had the possibility to go to France, I took it. It was in Rouen that Dado Pršo hit rock bottom. Just a teenager and far away from his family, his thoughts were naturally on his loved ones, caught in the conflict miles away. He struggled to settle, and as such, his football suffered, scoring just once in 10 games. He was dropped from the first team, and would go for over a year without playing a competitive minute. Dado Pršo fell out of love with the beautiful game, and got lost in the sauce. He spent all night in bars, drinking, smoking, gambling, picking up women, and putting on weight until he was 16 stone. He had given up on football, and was more or less retired at the age of 20. But just as he was at his lowest ebb, salvation came in the form of a local girl named Carol, who he met and married during those dark days. She nudged him back towards his purpose. My wife, she pushed me back in the right direction in my career. I did not have a good life in France before I met her, but after that, we began to build something new together. I don't have words to explain how important she has been to me. Pršo's experiences of living a somewhat hedonistic life, more befitting of your average teenager than an elite sportsman, taught him the valuable lesson that to achieve something in football would require nothing less than 100% dedication. With the seeds of this realization sprouting, the newlyweds relocated south to the other end of the country, with the beautiful resort town of San Rafael on the Côte d'Azur their destination. Pršo eased himself back into football at the behest of Carol, signing with EFC Freyas San Rafael, who plied their trade in the 4th tier of French football. As he was only on a part-time contract, the club helped him to get by as much as they could, putting him and his wife up in an apartment equipment and furnishing him with a part-time job as a mechanic. Contrary to the usual negative framing of this situation, it is a time Dado remembers fondly. He was working with a great bunch of lads at the garage. Carol was the happiest she had ever been, and Big Pershaw was enjoying his football again. Played as a target man, the 6'3" force of nature got himself back amongst the goals and scored 7 in 18 league appearances. Then, in the summer of 1996, Dado Pershaw played in a match which would change his life. A practice game had been organised between San Rafael and Monaco reserves. The relentless Pershaw proved a tricky opponent for Monaco. Of formidable frame and stature, strong in the air and good in front of goal, but also quick and surprisingly neat and accomplished on the ball, he was a nuisance to defend. The popular story goes that Monaco manager Jean Tigana was watching that day and was blown away by Pershaw's potential and convinced that he was wasting his talent playing in a league well below his ability, and signed him up virtually on the spot. This would appear to be another myth. It wasn't exactly like that. Tigana did not bring me to Monaco. Namely, I was photographed at the league matches for San Rafael by the scouts, who followed the players in the lower leagues for Monaco, and they brought me to the team. Although he had finally signed for a Division 1 team after 3 years in France, Dado had not made it just yet. Monaco were stacked in terms of forwards, boasting Victor Ikpeba, Sonny Anderson and a teenage Thierry Henry, so Pershaw spent his first year at Monaco in the reserves, alongside a 19-year-old David Trezeguet. While Trezeguet was promoted to the first team for the 97-98 campaign, scoring 18 in 27 appearances, Pershaw on the other hand was shipped out on loan to the lower leagues again, this time the AC Ajaccio in Division 3. Dado scored 8 goals in 23 league appearances, helping them to win the league and get promoted to Division 2. There, Dado continued to improve, impress and be hugely influential for his team, scoring 13 league goals in 30 appearances. Returning to Monaco for the 99-2000 campaign, Pershaw had to play second fiddle to main man Trezeguet and made just 20 appearances, the majority of which came from the bench. The only 2 league goals he got were reasonably important ones against Nantes and Nancy towards the end of the season, as Monaco won the league and Pershaw, at the age of 25, finally got his hands on his first major honour. Although Trezeguet left for Juventus at the end of the season, Dado was still unable to establish himself as a first-team regular. The arrival of Shabani Nonda, as well as constant niggles with a problematic knee, meant he was still deployed mainly as an impact sub until 2002 he damaged his knee so badly that a drastic surgery was required. Laying in hospital, listening to the doctors describe in brutal detail the osteotomy procedure he would have to undergo, Pershaw was wondering, not for the first time, if this was to be the end of the road for him in football. So gubbed was his left knee that his leg would have to be broken in order to realign it by 30 degrees. Surgeons eased the worried Dado's anxious mind, assuring him that with the correct rehabilitation he would be able to play again, but with one cautionary caveat. This was only a temporary fix that would hold for 5 seasons maximum. It was a long, hard year Pershaw spent on the sidelines convalescing. When he was able to return to light training, the big striker noticed that he had lost some of his pace, a big part of his game up until that point. Dado Pershaw had rose to and overcome every challenge thrown at him thus far, and although he could not move around the field as quickly, he took the opportunity to level up an aspect of his play which had been a noticeable weakness up until that point: his composure. When through on goal, the old Pershaw would panic, rush, and all too often snatch at the chance. The new improved Pershaw was calmer and more convincing. The work Dado had been doing was clear to see when he made the return to the first team in the second half of the 02-03 season, and he hit the purplest patch of his career up until that point. Forming a great understanding with Nonda, Pershaw grabbed himself 12 in 20 matches, 4 more than he had managed in his previous 51 league appearances for Monaco. And Monaco really could have done with having Dado Pershaw back from injury a little sooner, as they narrowly missed out on the Ligue 1 title, finishing second, 1 point behind Lyon. Success was enjoyed in the Cup, however, and Pershaw was pivotal. He scored 3 goals in the League Cup, including 1 in the 4-1 final rout of Sochaux. His blistering form that season had been noticed by Croatia national team manager Otto Baric, and at the grand old age of 28, Dado Pershaw won his first cap for his country, and he enjoyed a goal-scoring debut, netting the second of a 4-1 win over Belgium in a Euros qualifiers group match. match. Monaco manager Didier Deschamps saw beyond the target man stereotype that Purcell had always been typecast as due to his physical attributes, and realised that the Croatian was in truth much more. With his intelligence, work rate, commitment, link-up play and ball control, he was a complete forward, and Deschamps played him in a variety of positions across the front line, at his usual centre forward, as a shadow striker, or even out wide on the right. He was a perfect foil to Spanish hitman Fernando Morientes, who got 10 league goals in that 03-04 season. Dado Purcell himself got 8, but so many of them were decisive, as Monaco once again battled it out for the League One title with Lyon. He got the only goal in 1-0 wins over former club Ajaccio and Le Mans, and both in the 2-0 win over Strasbourg. Unfortunately, it was not enough, as they once again finished behind Paul Le Guen's dominant Lyon side. It was in Europe, and on the most high-profile of stages that Purcell shone and wrote his name into legend. On the 5th of November 2003, Dado was celebrating his 29th birthday by playing a Champions League group stage game against Deportivo La Coruña, and he made sure it was a birthday he would never forget, managing a feat that only two greats of the game had accomplished before him, Marco van Basten and Simone Inzaghi.
Подача. Удар по воротам 3-0. Малина не решается сыграть на перехвате. Шатание в защите. Полузащитники не страхуют. Но посмотрите, ну что же такое происходит с Депортиво. Это 1-1. Неужто положения вне игры не было? Удар по воротам. Что делает хитрик в первом тайме? 4-2. Вроде бы интрига появилась. Интрига умирает. Интрига умирает. Не только потому, что на той же 45-й минуте Purcell забил еще один гол.
His 4 goals in just 23 Champions League minutes catapulted him to superstardom, but Purcell was not done yet. He scored the winner against Lokomotiv Moscow in the last 16. Monaco overcame a 4-2 away defeat to beat the Galacticos of Real Madrid 3-1 in a famous quarter-final victory, orchestrated by an inspired Ludovic Joly. Purcell then got the first goal in the 5-3 aggregate defeat of Chelsea in the semi-finals. Dado actually started on the bench in the final against Jose Mourinho's Porto. He was called upon much sooner than expected, replacing the injured captain Joly after just 23 minutes. Monaco pressed and put Porto under pressure for much of the match, but Porto were simply ruthless on the counter and gave the special one the most special sent-off possible with a 3-0 victory.
Novo cruzamento, a pedir desvio, Carlos Alberto, golo! Tira a bola, Lanichev para Deco, pode marcar o Porto, e golo! Essa bola para Lanichev, pode marcar a Lanichev, golo!
Dado had reached the end of his contract at Monaco, and after such a high-profile season, he was not short of offers. The most credible were AC Milan and Rangers. The choice would seem obvious. AC Milan were offering prestige and the chance to continue playing in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. As far as Dado was concerned, all they were offering was the bench, and he branded their flip-flopping pursuit of him as disrespectful. On the other hand, David Murray and Alex McLeish rolled out the red carpet, making multiple visits, sending private jets out, and offering an eye-watering contract that would make him one of the highest paid players at the club. For Dado, it was a no-brainer. He had played at Ibrox before, in the Champions League and with Monaco, and expressed how much he had enjoyed that experience in an interview. It should be noted that Big Sam Allardyce claimed that Dado Purcell had reneged on a verbal agreement to join Bolton in the Premier League, something which Purcell denies, saying that he did speak to Allardyce a few times over the course of several months, but they never shook hands on anything. Before he could join up with his new team though, there was the small matter of Euro 2004 in Portugal. Purcell had gained national hero status in November 2003, scoring both goals in a tense 2-1 aggregate playoff win against Slovenia to send them to the tournament. He was named Croatian Footballer of the Year in recognition of his seismic contribution. Despite great hope that underdogs Croatia could pull off something special, things did not go to plan, as they failed to win a single game in their group and went home after only 3 matches. Dado scored once against France. Before Dado Pershaw had arrived at Ibrox, he had been given the obligatory scare stories about how physical the football was in Scotland, and he found this out in his first league match. Kicked from pillar to post in a 0-0 draw to Aberdeen, a slightly shell-shocked Pershaw was given a wry "Welcome to Scotland" by the referee. He had also been told by many people that the SPL was of a much lower quality than the rest of Europe. Pershaw found that to be false. Along with the extreme physicality, the football was much quicker than it had been in France, and Dado quickly realised that he would not be given the same amount of time to take touches on the ball that he had been in Ligue 1. He soon discovered that for other teams in the league, they approached playing Rangers like they would a cup final and relentlessly gave their all against them. Something he also discovered that was different from France was the expectations of the fans, the press and his teammates. Drawing or losing was simply not acceptable. This had not been the case at Monaco, and Pershaw immediately got a taste of the intense pressure that comes with playing for one of the old firm. Despite scoring in his second and third league matches against Livingston and Hibs respectively, the Gers got off to a bad start. The summer had been one of great change in terms of playing staff, with many established and experienced players leaving and a host of fresh faces arriving. Consequently, they needed time to gel, time that you simply do not get at Rangers. Just 2 wins in their first 5 league fixtures, including a loss to Celtic, saw the Bears 7 points adrift of their bitter city rivals. Manager Alex McLeish was coming under heavy fire after he had failed to beat CSKA Moscow and qualify for the Champions League. The UEFA Cup qualification hopes were also hanging in the balance after a 1-0 loss to Maritimo. It's times like these that you see what people are made of. As Dado said, you see the man in these situations and what his comportment is, and at this club you need strong men. This is not a place for weakness, and Dado promptly showed his new supporters exactly what kind of man he was, a warrior. He scored the equaliser against Maritimo, which took the game to extra time and penalties. Rangers won the shootout and got into the UEFA Cup group stage. In the league, Dado was similarly instrumental. He scored the only goal of a 1-0 win against Inverness Caley-Thistle, which proved to be the spark for a remarkable run of form. They went unbeaten for a total of 27 league games as one of the most exciting title battles in years gripped the country, forming one of the greatest little and large strike partnerships in football history with Nacho Novo. The two forwards dragged Rangers kicking and screaming to the top of the table. Dado Pershaw had quickly become a huge fan favourite at Ibrox, showing that he absolutely got what it meant to play for Rangers, battling and fighting to the bitter end and leaving everything out there. So often, he was the one to take the initiative and win games single-handedly. He got a brace in the 2-0 win over Motherwell, the only goal against Hibs, the second against Celtic.
Могло дело дойти, хотя лиц как раз тогда было очень-очень задиристо, а это 2-0. 2-0, Дадо Pershaw своей больной головой переправляет мяч в ворота.
An equaliser against Caley-Thistle, the openers against Aberdeen and Killie, and the winner against Motherwell. A lot of strikers bolster their statistics by adding the third or fourth at the end of an easy win. Not Dado. He was Mr. Decisive. There is another huge difference between Scotland and France becoming apparent. The insane amount of battle scars he was accumulating. He was left looking like Frankenstein's monster after a nasty clash of heads with Aberdeen's Scott Severin left him needing 2 operations. He also had to play for several months with a bandage. Coupled with his ponytail, it is a now iconic look. All in all, Dado Pershaw scored 18 league goals, 1 less than his mate Novo, as the SPL went down to the wire. In quite possibly the most memorable and epic final day in SPL history, Rangers travelled to Hibernian needing a win, and for Celtic to slip up.
We're underway at Easter Road, and there's
Championship beckoning for Celtic area.
turned in by Sutton. Celtic have the lead. He does well, gets it away from Brown. Through to cross, a little touch by him. Buffalo again. He's got Novo on the right hand side. In comes Nacho Novo, drives to the cross, and Pershaw in there at the near post, and Novo is absolutely delighted with himself.
And they will find here that the pressure is still on Celtic because Rangers have taken the lead at Easter Road. A little bit of tension about the Celtic supporters. They know that one false move could cost them the league. Britain. Varga wins it. There's Foran. McDonald. McDonald scored for Motherwell!
The title will be heading to Easter Road to Rangers. The helicopter is changing direction.
Back. Could be a second. Here's McDonald again.
He scores again. It's all over. McDonald has scored. 2-1 Motherwell. Celtic are out of it. Rangers have won the title. Scott McDonald has scored for Motherwell. Motherwell 2. Celtic 1. The
much this title meant to you personally?
Well, it meant a lot. I came here to this and now really I can't imagine it's true. Believe me, I'm in a shock.
How does this rank in other big wins throughout your career? How important is this one?
This one is a great one. We win in the last seconds of the game. It's really the best how I win this one.
It was a double that season for Rangers as they walloped Motherwell 5-1. Pershaw had got himself another vital goal, the equaliser against Celtic in the quarters, which sent the game to extra time where Shota Arveladze bagged the winner. He was named as Croatian Footballer of the Year for the third year in a row as his 4 goals in Group 8 helped Croatia to qualify for the World Cup. The following season, time started to catch up with Dado Pershaw as the 5-season deadline given to him by the knee surgeons was proving accurate. Trying to protect his left knee, Dado overcompensated and put too much strain on his right leg, and he badly tore his hamstring in November. Up until that point, Dado had been in great form and was a one-man band up front for the Gers, and all the pundits agreed he had been their best player. A model professional, he was the ultimate team player, always working his socks off for the cause. He had 5 goals and 4 assists in his first 15 games before his injury. The team really missed him when he was out and they struggled. Pershaw himself took a while to get up to speed when he did return, and it ended up being a disastrous season for Rangers. They finished 3rd in the league and without a trophy. Dado Pershaw was one of the few who could be given pass marks. He always gave 110% for the cause each and every game, despite his leg starting to crumble, and it was for this reason that he decided to retire from international football after the 2006 World Cup. He played every minute of that tournament for Croatia, but failed to score, and just like at Euro 2004, they were winless and failed to progress from the group. In total, the late bloomer Pershaw made 32 appearances for Croatia across 3 years, scoring 9 goals. For the 06-07 season, a familiar face arrived as manager to replace Alex McLeish, Paul Le Guen, the man who had thwarted Dado Pershaw's Monaco time and again. Le Guen was a strict disciplinarian and a fitness freak, focusing on grueling runs in training. Previously, allowances had been made for Dado's knees, and he was given extra rest days between matches. However, Le Guen did not look kindly on those who could not participate in his new regime, and the two never clicked at all. It was another shambolic season in which Le Guen was sacked in January, with the Bears once again some way behind Celtic. Walter Smith returned to steady things, but by this point Dado's body had more or less given up the ghost, and when he was able to make the squad, he more often than not started on the bench. After consulting with doctors who told him he had the knees of an 80-year-old, he saw that it was finally time to call it a day and draw curtains on a remarkable rollercoaster career. Hobbling onto the pitch on crutches on the last day of the season, he was given a guard of honour and an emotionally charged send-off. Despite only spending 3 years at Ibrox, it was clear to see the huge impression he had left on the fans, who were gutted he could not stick around longer as he was the clear and natural successor to Mark Hateley. You could see how much Rangers meant to Dado as well, because he was in bits. He had been a huge personality in the dressing room and was loved and respected by his teammates. To this day, Alex McLeish says Pershaw is the best signing he made at Rangers, calling him a Trojan on the pitch. Dado also forged a path, becoming the first Croatian to conquer Ibrox. There have since been 4 of his countrymen who have left the mark at Rangers. Fun fact, Pershaw in the Czech language means breast, which I think is very apt because Big Dado was the tits.
No champagne, no champagne. Champagne, it's for the woman. For the boys, for the men.
What do men drink?
Milk.